YSS prevention specialist. Glad to have everybody that's tuning in live. If you're tuning in later on, welcome to you. I have a couple of special guests. Geri Derner, welcome.
Thank you.
I got to say welcome to you. And Julie Saxton, welcome to you.
Hello.
So excited to have you both with us. I mean, I tell you what, I was spying a little bit on you, reading your biographies, which is actually pretty impressive, may I say, but a lot of experience in mental health, which is what we're going to be talking about tonight. So a lot of experience, which hopefully maybe I can chime in on a little bit about your biographies, a little bit about what you guys have done, and everything that you're doing. So want to get to that. Before we get to that, hey, for those that are tuning in live, we have a comment box right there. We're again live. So if you're watching live, you can ask questions or put in some comments. We'd love to chime in on those. So tonight we're talking about something exciting coming up, which is, I know I'm excited, Geri, the Mental Health Expo. Now, I have actually been to a couple of these before, and in the past it's been at Iowa State, an in-person event. This year, obviously, it's taking a little bit of a different form.
Yep.
So excited to talk about that, but let's get to this right away. If we're talking about the Mental Health Expo, first off, let's just put it out there, and Julie, I'm gonna come right to you with this one.
Okay.
What is the Mental Health Expo, and why is it important? What are we talking about when we just talk about a Mental Health Expo here in Iowa?
So the Mental Health Expo is an event that we have put on for the last 6 years. This particular event is a community event that may be suffering from mental illness, substance abuse issues, information for family and friends of those individuals that are suffering. It's a great community event to bring to light, mental health, what it is, to break down that stigma, and to provide support and education, as well as advocacy for those that are suffering.
Okay, so that is a general, and let me also ask here, how did the Mental Health Expo begin? And Geri, I want to throw this question your way because I heard you on Mel in the Morning. And I've got to give a huge shout out to anybody. I mean, everybody knows Mel, Mel in the Morning. But Mel is a great supporter of YSS, a phenomenal person. And he is in the know of everything that's happening throughout Iowa, South Central Iowa, actually in the country. And he is a great supporter of YSS Let's Talk. And Geri, I heard you on Mel in the Morning. And I got to say, you're an expert. You're going to take my job from me hosting YSS Let's Talk. Because, and one thing you talked about, though, when I was listening yesterday on Mel in the Morning, was a little bit about the history and how long this Mental Health Expo has been going on, kind of the traditional form. We'll talk a little bit more about what's going to happen here, but can you fill us in on a bit about the Mental Health Expo start, how many years it's been?
I'd love to. I like to tell a story, and the story of the Mental Health Expo is that this is our 6th annual expo. And of course, it's our first virtual and hopefully our last virtual. But the very first one didn't feel much like an expo at all. And I don't say that with any ill feeling. Early Ball Mental Health Center here in town had some grant funds to promote mental health awareness, and they wanted to do an expo of some sort. So they really coordinated it all and then invited several other agencies in town to participate. And we thought, people go to the mall and they hang out. And so we should go and set up a variety of tables at the mall and, catch people while they're out shopping. And not such a good idea. We all realized in hindsight that people don't go to the mall to get mental health information, they go to shop. So we liked the concept of bringing a variety of agencies together to share resources, but we needed to find a different venue. And so the following year, I honestly don't know how the connection happened, but I'm so thankful it did, because we have partnered with Iowa State University ever since. And the Department of Lectures is particularly helpful to us. They help us fund our higher cost keynote speakers when we go out of the Midwest, and they're just very, very supportive. They have someone sitting on the planning committee with us, and so it has been a really nice partnership. And having someone from the university on the committee helps the rest of us community people remember that there's a whole nother world out there on campus. And so for 4 years, we have done this at the Union live, as you mentioned. And so we've been meeting monthly for about 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple of months ago, we're staring COVID straight in the face and had to make a conscious choice of what to do. It was clear that the university option was not going to be available. And we had to decide, do we continue an expo in some format, or do we just take the year off? And it was unanimous pretty quickly that this is not the year we can afford to take a year off from mental health awareness. So
I'm glad that you brought that up. Yeah. I'm glad you brought that up because, I mean, like you said, specifically with COVID and everything else that has gone on, natural disasters, obviously there's been a lot of turmoil in our country. So having this expo and being able to put this on, even virtually, I think is so important. Like I said, given what we are all experiencing, the trauma, the anxiety, the depression, the isolation, it's just a great event to be able to showcase all of these amazing organizations here in Story County that are available to everyone.
Right. And that's the thing too, is, I mean, thinking about this, in the past, it's been in person, but we're going to get, and I'm excited because, again, I stole a little bit of your thunder, Geri, listening to Mel in the morning and listening to everything you were talking about. And this is exciting stuff because now everybody can come to the table, and really you don't even have to be in person. So again, we're going to get to that in a second, but Geri, something you said, I did not know this start. So going back to the shopping center and the tables and setting that up and really seeing a need there, and noticing that, okay, this could be bigger. There could be partners. There could be, I mean, because Geri, again, I said I was going to talk a little bit about biography. What, you've been doing this for 35 years? Did I read that right?
That sounds right.
35 years working with mental health. And so way back, you're there, you're in shopping centers, setting up tables, probably passing out pamphlets, getting people involved. And because of that now, 6 years later, 7 years later, with this Mental Health Expo, having Iowa State usually be the host, or I guess you would say the host venue, there's a lot of people around the table that come about, which, I mean, my goodness. And I heard 10 different agencies right now are kind of coming around the table. This is big. We're not talking a small shop here. So Julie, talk about some of these partnering organizations that are around the table.
Yeah, there's just amazing partnerships. Some of the organizations that are involved in putting together this fantastic event, YSS, Optime Life Services, Irely Ball, CICS, the Ames Police Department, LSI, CFR. Geri, who am I missing? ISUPD.
There you go. Did we get NAMI? Sorry, did you see that my light changed?
when you said ISUPD, that's Iowa State
The
University.
Iowa State Police Department.
Okay.
They actually have a mental health advocate that they hired a couple years ago that mirrors my position. So she is an individual that helps plan this event along with us and has done a great job.
So each of these 10 agencies or organizations has at least one, if not two, people at the table every month. And this last 2 months, it's been every week.
Right.
Putting this together, planning it's beautiful teamwork.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And that is, you just said it, teamwork. I mean, and Geri, back again, I keep on going back to the mall story that you were just telling about, because I love stories too. That's got to be gratifying to see how this turned into such a large event, because I told you I've been a part of a couple of them, and it's truly monumental. And just how big it is, but also the camaraderie. I can't say that word right now. Camaraderie. Thank you very much, Julie. But yes, I mean, just absolutely. I mean, just everybody that comes around the table there, and truly. Okay, so let's go here. Before I ask what's included in the vendor fair, Geri or Julie, can you give a quick synopsis of what this is going to look like?
The vendor fair?
So, well, even the overall.
Overall?
Yeah, the overall, because I was just noticing as I was reading my notes, I want to know if somebody, what is this virtual going to look like?
I'll take that one since I drew the map.
Thank you, because this is exciting, because this is different.
Yeah.
Well, here's a true confession, and I didn't tell Mel this. When the committee was looking at the idea of doing a virtual expo, we liked the idea but didn't know where to start. And so somebody was just Googling online, and they found a virtual man cave expo where it's a map on the screen, and you just click on different topics that are generally of interest to guys, like hunting and fishing and boats and trucks and stuff like that. And so we liked the idea and have borrowed that without the boats and fishing and trucks. So right now, if you go to the website for the Mental Health Expo, you are going to see our logo and a save the date message and the sponsors, and there's other information on there. But the day of the expo on September 14th at 6:00, you will automatically be in the virtual expo. We're launching everything from the website. Okay. So you can just go there, mark it as a favorite, so you can go back to it on September 14th. And at 6:00, we're going to start the vendor fair. And it will look, imagine if you were the person in charge of the vendor fair at the Memorial Union, and you needed to have a floor plan map so you could tell each vendor where to go. So this is going to be an aerial view with virtual tables set up around the perimeter, and each table will have the logo for one of the vendors. And I think, gosh, we're up to 30 or maybe 35, which is more than we've had before. We decided it's easy because people just have to give us a link to something. They don't have to schlep a car full of stuff up the steps to the union.
Exactly. That's great. I mean, and that is great. You have these virtual vendors now.
Yes.
So as soon as folks ultimately, I guess, is subscribe the correct word, Geri and Julie? No.
Subscription necessary. All you got to do is go to the website. You don't have to register. You don't have to log in. You don't have to do anything. You just go to the website, and on the expo day, there will be a button that says enter here, and it will take you into the virtual map. So the virtual map has everything, and it'll be interactive from there.
Okay, so we have this vendor fair right off the bat, because usually that's what you see when you walk in.
That's right.
In person. So Julie, is there anything else about the vendor fair that you want to hit on? What would your most exciting part of the vendor fair be? This virtual vendor fair, I would say. Oh, and I think you're on mute. Oh, sorry. There we go.
Okay. Well, first of all, like Geri talked about, I mean, my favorite part has always been all the different organizations that there to provide, like I said, the support, the advocacy, and the information. Their organization that is so helpful for so many people that may be struggling with mental illness or substance abuse. And I know from past experience, I mean, you know, being part of this in person, I know we can't interact this year, but the interaction that I've had with people from the community and other coming together, and like I said, you know, providing information, support, that advocacy, that's a really, really great feeling to be able to connect people that they don't know where to go, they don't know what to do. Again, there's, like Geri said, they're still going to be able to do that when they end. They'll be able to go to each of those vendors, click on their logo, and they'll be able to get all of the information from that particular you know, organization. We are also still going to have the refreshment vendor refreshment table. And Geri, yes, I promised that I would talk about the ISU brownies that we will still be able to. We won't be able to really eat that, but we have the recipe that will be available for those who want to make that. And
yes, and I've already heard something about granny bread, granny something that I want to get.
It's granny cake is the family recipe, but it's a good old fashioned buttermilk brownie, and it tastes just like what you get from ISU Dining.
Really? Okay.
And up the recipe, and it will be available one click away.
It will be available. Yep.
But you've got to be a part of the Mental Health Expo to get granny bread.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm. You got to go there to get the recipe.
Okay, and so there you go. That's one incentive. You know, of course, many more incentives as well.
I'd like to talk about a trade-off with the virtual vendor fair.
Yeah.
It's something that I hadn't really thought of.
Okay.
I know that I'm concerned that people won't have that same personal interaction. They won't be able to ask someone a question and, you know, have it be a something personal from themselves or about someone else.
Okay, and let's real quick, Geri, for folks that aren't used to coming to expos, aren't used to coming to these. When we're talking vendor fairs, we're ultimately talking about when you walk into a room, you have these different organizations there with tables, correct? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but you walk in and these tables and these organizations are there to present their information to you, right?
Correct.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay.
And so when you go up to a table, you will have access to the resources they chose to bring along.
Okay.
And you'll have access to a live human being. But when we're doing this virtually, the trade-off is you don't get the live human being to ask the question of,
right.
But instead of only getting a handful of their resources that they've brought along to the union, you get all of their resources because they will be linking to their websites or a particular spot on their website. Or I know we have one new provider, fairly new to the providing community that doesn't even have a website yet. So they've created a special presentation to be able to click on to learn about what they have to offer, because it's not just a clickable link. So each of the providers who has something at the vendor fair or the organizations, it was up to them to decide what they wanted to share. And because we're doing this with a little bit of fear and trepidation and not sure how technology is going to work, we limited our vendors to one click. We can only give you one click. You tell us where you want to go with that one click. And some will choose their entire website, and then you can have access to everything they have and find what you're looking for. Others will narrow it down a little bit and not make you hop around so much, but you'll still have access to everything. And then still others have prepared something specifically for the expo vendor visitors.
That is great because you don't even have to, I mean, I can't tell you how many fairs and things I've been to where you go away, you get a pamphlet that that gets you interested, but then you eventually call them, or you got to say, hey, can I get some more? And now you have all the resources right there.
Right there. Yep. I can tell you that when someone clicks on the Ames PD link, again, we're going to have a lot of information with regards to what my position is, how I get folks connected in the community with the appropriate provider, how I provide support. But also the community resource officer, we have talked a little bit about how we want to present some of this, and we may doing that in song. So there's a little something different that people.
That is.
Surely there will be a virtual donut somewhere, won't there, Julie?
Yes, there's going to be virtual donuts. Yes.
Okay, so this is actually pretty darn cool. I mean, there are so many different things. This actually may work out pretty awesome. I mean, with so many different and I mean, as a conference goes, or I'm calling it a conference, but an expo, you also have a guest speaker. Is that correct? Yeah. So, and this guest speaker I heard is an author, an advocate. I also, and whoever's going to talk about this guest speaker here, Miss Jessie Beyer, is that correct?
Yes.
Jessie Beyer, also and I'm sorry, this interests me since I'm an animal lover, but is a canine rescue. So she does canine rescue as well. Okay, but I know that's, but I mean, my goodness, all over. When I was reading about Jessie, I was truly floored. So can either of you talk about Jessie here a bit and about her being the keynote speaker and about why you brought her on board to be the keynote speaker?
Go, Julie.
So again, when we were initially talking about various speakers, again, like Geri mentioned, there's COVID right in our face. And when it really came down to it, Jessie talks a lot about trauma, how to overcome trauma, again, sharing her story. And I think that it's really relevant to the times, considering what has gone on. I think we all can say that we are experiencing trauma, and for her to be able to share her message and her story of hope and healing is really important. Like I said, specifically with, I think a lot of people can relate. So,
yeah.
And I think one of the things that's probably not unique about Jessie, but for a person who goes on the circuit as a speaker and a promoter of mental health awareness and taking care of yourself, she didn't do that. When she was struggling the very most, she resisted any kind of professional help. It just wasn't for her. She fell to the stigma and said, I don't need it. I don't want it. It won't work anyway. And so her book actually talks about some non-professional self-healing strategies. So if there are people out there who say, oh yeah, I might have trouble, but I don't want to go see a psychiatrist, or I don't want to talk to a counselor or take meds, Jessie is the speaker for you, because she's living proof that there are ways to get through whatever is ailing you. And now she is a firm believer, because she was able to do some stuff on her own holistically, and then she finally realized that she did need a little professional help, and so now she's an advocate of mental health services. But for the longest time, she wanted no part of it and really held strong to that. So she's kind of a convert herself to our services, and we've seen little clips of her speaking. I don't think any of us have met her personally, but
you will.
We will. And I, now I subscribe to her blog, and I get an email from her a couple days a week, and things are going on. So yeah, I feel like we're best friends now. But she's just a Minnesota girl, and she has a degree in psychology, so she's got a little bit of basis to went to action here. So yeah.
Well, and that's one thing I loved when I walked into the Mental Health Expo for the first time, and this would have been a couple of years ago. I walked in and I was floored about the services that were provided. And Geri, again, not to keep talking about Mel in the morning, but I'll lift him up as much as we can because he's phenomenal. But, you know, when you talked on Mel yesterday, you talked about this, that, you know, wow, I mean, this expo is for everybody. This isn't just for the folks that are thinking, okay, I absolutely need the professional help, just like you were talking about. But there's other ways too. There's a whole plethora. And it sounds like Jesse can kind of hit on that a bit.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing we're going to find that this year, we do have a greater variety of vendors at our vendor fair. I know we have a couple of insurance companies. I know there's a chiropractor who asked to be a part of our event.
Wow. Okay.
So, you know, I don't know.
And chiropractic. I mean, and as a prevention specialist, when I went through a training myself, the first time I heard about a chiropractor being a part of a conference that we were part of, I was honestly thinking, okay, what are you exactly bringing to this? And by the time that chiropractor was done, my goodness, about the mental health and about how our bodies are all connected and things that folks can find and find out more about and how to ultimately take care of yourself. Hey, if you're just tuning in right now, I'm talking with Geri Derner here. Geri, you are the IHS program coordinator, right? And well, that's an abbreviation. What's it mean?
Integrated Health Services.
Okay, Integrated Health Services Program Coordinator, and Julie Saxton, our MH advocate, City of Ames. And MH stands for what?
Mental health advocate.
Yes. So a lot of acronyms in this field, and two true experts. I mean, I think between the two of them, probably 50, 60 years of combined mental health experience. We're talking about the Mental Health Expo that is coming up. And again, on what date?
September 14th.
September
30.
Okay, so we're going to get to the information about how folks can become a part of this here very, very shortly. Please, if you're watching right now, chime in on the comment box if you are live and we're gracing your presence with us being live. You can comment on the ask some questions and hope to get to those here very, very shortly. But who wants to talk? Okay, so now we got to get to the granny bread. I know, I'm excited about this. So we got to get to what else. What else does the expo look like? What else can we expect when we go to the expo on September 14th?
We will have a PowerPoint with very inspiring messages and quotes, mini keynote messages for educators and other professionals. And like I said, the virtual refreshment table where you will get your granny cake recipe.
Thank you, granny cake. And you're not going to share us that recipe right now, Geri.
I will tell you that it's very fun to make because it includes baking soda and buttermilk that you mix together and it foams and froths to make it all moist and yummy. So not only is it delicious, it's fun.
Okay.
I know you're intrigued now, Rusty.
I am, actually. I love to eat. I don't like to make it because that's labor intensive, but I do like to eat. So but I will be looking forward to getting the recipes, and I'll tell Paul in the other room to get cooking. So
we saw a preview today of the recipe link for the virtual refreshment table, and it's like 13 or 14 pages long. So, and at least 2 recipes on a page, sometimes more than that. So we have beverages and healthy snack items and not so healthy snack items. Some things that are really easy for college students to make. We wanted to make sure that we didn't discourage them from coming to the refreshment table because all they have is a crock pot in a dorm. But we know that college students now have a whole lot more than that crock pot.
Yeah. You know, and this is on my mind too. With this all going virtual, what do and let me just ask you and throw this out. What do the expenses look like? I mean, I know that that's kind of I put that out there, but do you have the same expenses going virtual? Do we have new expenses? Because putting a conference like this is expensive.
It's very expensive.
Yeah. So Geri or Julie, talk about that a bit. Let's get the word out there.
I'll start. Yes, there is a slightly reduced cost to us this year as a committee because we don't have a lot of the physical expenses.
Okay.
But even then, as a supporter and a teammate, committee member, the university does provide the Great Hall at no charge to us. We have to pay for the food, but they provide the venue and the AV equipment. So it really is a great partnership. So what we don't have this year for expenses, we had to up our marketing budget and spend more money on printing and posting and Facebook ad boosting, Facebook post boosting. I'm sitting here looking at about 7,000 labels that will be delivered in the next few days to most of the coffee shops and pizza places in Story County that we are hoping they will be able to put our logo label on their coffee cup sleeves and their pizza boxes to get the word out, because we know that people haven't given up coffee and everybody gets pizza delivered at home or for carryout. So I'm really glad that we have the slide up there to remind me. We had 5 very generous sponsors this year. And of course, university helps pay for the cost of bringing Jesse in. And then we also have the Ames Police Department from their foundation. They also made a very generous contribution to us. We got some funding from Walmart. And Julie, that was the local Walmart, correct?
That was the local Walmart, yes.
And then Mary Greeley has always been a supporter of this event, and they put some cash in this year. And the one that surprised me, now I was, one of the people that worked on the sponsor committee, and we were just trying to think of, because everybody is so tapped out around here with all the extra expenses, we tried to think out of the box on where could we go to get some funding. And so I just started looking for foundations, community foundations, business foundations. And I stumbled across the Delta Dental Foundation. And who knew? They sponsor mental health. So Delta Dental is not just about teeth. So yeah, so those are our 5 vendors, and collectively they have provided enough funds for us to be able to market and promote, to get the word out. When we're live, we have about 500 participants coming through the doors, and it's about half community, half university. Mm-hmm. The university students are able to actually get extra credit for some psych and social classes. When we're live, I don't know if they're able to make those arrangements virtually or not. So, but we're really excited because the sky will be the limit for how many people we can have in the room. And we don't have to stay 6 feet apart, and you don't have to wear a mask because you're going to be at home on your couch.
And you're exactly right. And the sky is the limit. And that's what's exciting is, like you said, you don't have to be there in person. Even you don't have to drive. There's no parking.
Right.
There's no, so this,
there's no excuse.
There's no excuse. Bravo. Yes. So there you go. And you were just talking about 7,000 labels that you're looking at, or that you're looking at right now, that are being printed for to get the word out there about this.
Yes.
So I know folks can be listening to this, be it now, or maybe somebody can share this video before September 14th for folks to encourage other folks to help out and to get the word out there. So how can other people help? How can people participate? How can people be involved? I know that's a loaded question. I threw a lot of questions all at you at once. But both of you, Geri and Julie, chime in there. What do you want from folks? How can folks get involved?
Geri, you want to take that?
Oh, sure. Well, I think prior to September 14th, anytime anyone shares this information with someone else and encourages them to participate, will be great. And as one person shares with another, they will share with another. It's kind of like the old Clairol commercial on TV, one told one and two told two. I'll give a personal example. I was at the doctor this morning, and when the nurse were chitty-chatting, she's like, so what have you been up to lately? And so I told her about the expo, and she asked more and more questions. And finally she's like, well, how can I get to be a part of this? And so she just whipped out a piece of paper and wrote down the website, because you can go there now and make sure that you have the right location. And it will be up as a save the date. That's exactly what our website looks like now. But then on September 14th at 6 o'clock, it flips and goes live. The other thing that we're kind of excited about, and I hesitate saying this because I really, really want people to tune in live that night to be able to experience the vendor fair, hear Jesse's message. We'll be doing a live Q&A if all goes well when she's done with her presentation. And all of that is going to be available on our website for at least a month. So if you have a better offer on Monday the 14th, you can come back on the 15th and it'll all still be there waiting for you. The only thing that'll be different is the Q&A will no longer be live, so you don't get to ask any questions.
So, but if you are tuning in on the 14th, you can actually do a live Q&A, kind of like we're live right now. So the folks that want to chime in and ask questions or comments, they can do that. On the 14th, they can take advantage of that.
Right.
Absolutely. And, you know, we have no idea how many questions are going to come in, and we're sure that a lot will kind of be similar. So we'll have a moderator sitting over on campus where the equipment is, and they will be looking through all of the questions that come in and deciding in what order we ask them, and when we finally think we've had enough, because we haven't put a time limit on it. So all we know is that we're going to start about 8 o'clock because that's when we expect Jesse to finish. Right. So yeah.
Okay, and this is exciting in so many different realms. And like you were just talking about, Geri, word of mouth.
Absolutely.
Getting it out there by the word of mouth. We have September 14th, and I'm really bad at math, so I don't know how many days that is yet. I'm 11. Look at you little math whiz, you.
Oh no.
Oh no, not happening. So 11 days to get the word out there about this virtual mental health expo that, yes, serves South Central Iowa, but ultimately when we're talking mental health, and correct me if I'm wrong, we're talking mental health for everybody here.
Everywhere. Hey, that reminds me. Thanks, Rusty. I am one of the administrators of our Facebook page, and so therefore I get to see some of the comments that don't go public. And we had a message that someone was following our page. He didn't just like it, he was following us now. And it's someone from Australia. So I'm not sure how he picked up on it, whether he's a native Iowegian, but we're going halfway around the world this year.
I like it. Well, that's Iowa. I mean,
exactly, yeah.
Iowa, we hit everywhere. And folks, if you're tuning in right now, we're talking about the mental health exposition that will be coming up on September 14th. And here's the great thing. You can go to www.yss.org to rewatch this YSS Let's Talk Live if you're just tuning in now, so you can catch up on everything that we've been talking about. If you're watching live now, you still have a chance to ask some comments, make some questions, because that's exactly the box I'm going over to right now.
I was just looking, and I did see a comment from our coworker Jill, who is also on the committee. So thanks, Jill. And she asked, well, she didn't ask to remind us, but I think we need to remind you that all of the recipes will be alcohol-free. We're not promoting that. If you put a little tipple in on your own, that's your business. Our recipes are alcohol-free.
And I love it. And Nicole Overton here says that she can't wait to experience this virtually. And you know what? Way to pull it off regardless of the pandemic. And I've got to give you, Geri, you, Julie, some props. I mean, because I can only imagine the amount of work that this has taken. So bravo to you both. Andrew Allen says, Geri and Julie, of course, we already know this. You're rock stars. So grateful to have you both advocating for our community. And Tammy Denbo says, looking forward to the virtual expo and those ISU brownies.
Oh my God.
No, wait, I got to get this straight. So the ISU brownies, that's also AKA granny bread or what?
Granny cake.
Why do I keep saying bread? But okay, granny cake. So I tell you what, that's gonna become a staple in this household. I can already tell you. So, you know, and I love this too. Andrea Dickerson says, "What a fabulous partnership with the community." And isn't that what this is all about?
It really is. And Rusty, I know that you keep giving Julie and I credit and realize that we are just the spokespeople. We're the two people who were willing to go public and talk because we both like to do that. And so we just represent a whole lot of people who have worked really hard to make this happen. It doesn't happen overnight. And in some ways, it's less work than the live expo, and in other ways it's more work than the live expo because everything's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And there are still some things we thought of something this week that we hadn't thought about yet, and it's like, oh gosh, you know, we're only 2 weeks away. But that's the beauty of having a team, and you know, somebody has an idea and somebody else says let's make it happen, and it's worked. So we're excited, and the closer we get to it, the more excited I am. I must admit, at the beginning, I was committed, but I wasn't sold because I knew that we'd missed the atmosphere of that blending and mingling and being able to have face-to-face conversations and that networking that happens across the room. But I'm convinced more than ever that we're going to offer something just as fabulous in a different way. And you know, perhaps the person who would never come out to the expo at the Union will tune in from their living room. And
there you go.
You know, that's really what it's all about.
If I could quick comment on that about what you just said, Geri, that there are a lot of individuals suffering from mental illness that maybe want to come out to those live in-person events, but honestly can't because their mental illness prevents them from literally getting up and being able to get into a car and go to that live event. So this is reaching, like we said, everybody, but for those that really, truly, like I said, physically get there, they're able to access some great information and support and to be able to see how many organizations and resources there are in Story County that can help.
Yeah.
It's very exciting and very affirming of our county's commitment to helping people at whatever stage they're at. And, you know, I have now said the website often enough and have printed it enough that I know it, but it really doesn't matter whether you know the actual website, because if you just put in the Google system, Mental Health Expo, it's going to come up. Story County Mental Health, it's going to come up. You can do that both on Facebook and for the website. You don't have to have the exact accurate term, the exact accurate address. If you get anywhere close to Story County Mental Health Expo, it's going to take you home.
So if everybody watching this right now, and if they share this video, double points, triple points, if you just share Story County mexpo.com. Did I get that right? mhexpo.com. I'm trying to squint and look there. So yes, I mean, share that information. And Julie, what you said, so important. This can reach everybody, even the folks that traditionally couldn't have been there in person.
Absolutely.
This can reach, and this is our opportunity to reach these folks. So to everybody tuning in, we're on YSS Let's Talk. Thank you so much for tuning in. I tell you what, I have Julie Saxton, I have Geri Derner with me, two true experts in mental health and facilitating our, is this the 6th or the 7th mental health? The sixth Mental Health Expo, and this will be virtual this year, but it's going to be virtual to a whole new level.
Yep.
And again, truly incredible stuff. Right up there is the link that you can go. It's on September 14th, and you can tune in starting at 6 p.m. So, Geri, Julie, is there any final words that you want to leave with folks? Any final words that you want to encourage folks or that we haven't hit on? Anything? Because you've done awesome. I mean, phew.
I just want to say that it really has been a pleasure to be a part of the committee that is making this happen. I mean, I feel so good about what we're doing and what we have to offer. And when we decided to go virtual, we have done everything we can to try to recreate that same experience, because we know that, I mean, people are zoomed out and they're virtual out, and how here we are throwing something really important in a virtual format. But for those who have been to the expo in the past, we want them to recognize it when they get there. And for those who have never been there, we want them to have such a good experience that they'll come out the next time we have it live and see how it can be even bigger and better in person.
Yeah. So absolutely. So again, folks, if you want to share this video, go to www.yss.org. You can view all of the YSS Let's Talks, all of our Thursday night, 7 p.m. talks there. But you can share this video. Biggest thing is just get it out there, word of mouth. Get it out there about the expo coming up on September 14th. Exciting stuff. Geri, Julie, thank you for all of your work.
Thanks, Rusty.
Thank you so much.
Truly incredible stuff. So, hey, next week, we have, of course, again, every week we have a YSS Let's Talk. So I invite you to tune in next week, 7 p.m. for our YSS Let's Talk live right here on Facebook. And again, invite other folks to tune in. We like the live because we love the comments and the questions. But I'll be talking with Sarah Zoller. She's our YSS Residential Clinic Coordinator. And this is all about National Recovery Month. And I tell you what, a lot to talk about with COVID and the things that are going on right now, and of course with recovery. But hopefully we can get the word out there and reach some folks. So tune in again at 7 p.m. next Thursday, right here. I say right here in my house, but I would say, Geri, your garden behind you. With you, you know, I have a feeling that's not your real background. That's
well, there's the clock. Just
Oh.
away.
You cheater. But Julie, are you in your office?
I am.
Okay.
In the office.
We're working so late, dedicated. I love it. So, all right. Well, Geri Derner, Julie Saxton, thank you so much for being here tonight. And to all those out there, thank you for tuning in to YSS Let's Talk right here on Facebook. So we'll see you next week.
There were some great comments. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Fun to read those.